What's going on? Billy Carson here, aka Forbidden Knowledge. I am on the road, but we are live, live, live. I know it's kind of late, but I'm popping in on you right now because I have some great stuff to talk to you about with Egypt and the Anunnaki. And tonight we're going to talk about the grand finale of Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. And that is going to be the grand finale featuring Erich von Daniken. Okay. So it's kind of late on the East Coast, but I am right now on the West Coast. But don't worry, I still popped in. What's going on, Lionheart Rick? What's happening? Let me see. What time is it over there on the West Coast? It's about 10 minutes to 10 over there on the West Coast. Let me see what my night owl's at. Where's my night owls at? What's up, Joe? They call me Four Souls. Glenn. What's up? Who we got? Matner, Aaron, Glenn, Darisha. All right, 88, Wolfman. What's going on? William. Okay, Turbo. 7-1 Magic Dave. James Vick. E Spirit. Tyler. All right, we're getting in here. Okay, beautiful. The notifications are going out. I'm going to add a couple of more accounts to this. I'm going to go ahead and add X on here. I'm going to go ahead and add, what else? I'm going to add LinkedIn and my Anunnaki account, of course, on Facebook. Let me add a few more accounts to this so we can get this thing popping. Okay, what's going on? Matt, Castro, Richard, Zanetta. Okay. Mary. Yeah, I'm on the West Coast. I'm out here working right now and also visiting and got some good stuff done. Had a great podcast with AD today from TFU Podcast. I can't wait for that one to come out. That one's going to be dynamic. Earlier, I was on with Alex Media. That was another great podcast earlier today. And right now, we're going to talk about Anunnaki. We're going to be talking about the grand finale episode. So Anunnaki is this series that I wrote and co-produced and co-directed. It's a docu-series. It's on my TV app, Forbidden Knowledge TV. The TV app is on your app store. It's a 5-star app. And in this Anunnaki grand finale, what a blessing. I was able to get Erich von Daniken, the late, great Erich von Daniken, in my docuseries. Now, of course, I didn't know at the time that would be the last TV show or documentary or series that he would ever do in his actual life. I had no idea. Erich and I were very close, great human being. He invited me to his home in Switzerland, which I took him up on that offer and flew all the way to Switzerland to see him there. Hung out with him in Switzerland. And he was a great mentor. He taught me a lot of information. He gave me a lot of great ideas, and he was always open for me to ask questions. And if he didn't know the answer, he would direct me and put me in the right direction, point me in the right direction. So shout out to the late, great Erich von Daniken. I've known him for so many years, conferences, workshops, classes, podcasts. I gave him a TV show on the Forbidden Knowledge TV app, which was about 5 years ago. He gave me a great TV series there, season 1. And then later he came on to do the Anunnaki docuseries and be part of episode 6 and episode 7. So what's going on, everybody? I appreciate y'all. You're not late. You're right on time. I see some people say, damn, I'm late. You're not late. You're right on time. All right. So thank y'all for joining me tonight. Make sure y'all click that like button and share this video. Click the like button and share the video. Throughout the night, I'll be dropping the link in the live chat. That link is going to my incredible Forbidden Sacred Egypt tour, and it's selling out fast. There's only a few spots left for this year, but click that link and register ASAP. I'm going to be dropping that link in a live chat all night long. It's also going to be in the caption of this video or this audio, wherever you're listening. We're going to watch some of Anunnaki Ancient Secrets, episode 7, I believe, or 6, one of the two, tonight. The episode that Erich von Daniken was featured in, you'll be watching his last production, the last his last time being involved in something trying to spread knowledge and wisdom to humanity about what he had gained over all of his years researching and studying and traveling well over 1,000,000 miles around this earth. His only goal, his only wish was that humanity woke up and began to realize that there's a lot more than what we've been taught, and that there's other life that exists out there in the universe, and that, in his words, they are related to us. So again, the same concept that I always had was that it's not always about little green men and gray aliens. They might exist, but in some way, human beings might be alien to Earth itself. And he feels that we have a direct connection to the Star Brothers, the beings that came from elsewhere and came here and genetically tinkered with us, but in some way that makes us their cousins, or them our cousins, right? So we're going to have a great video tonight. I'm going to be bringing that up on my screen, and we're going to watch a little bit of Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed, the grand finale featuring Erich von Daniken. Let me see if I can pull that up right now so we can get the party started. All right. And thank y'all for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. We're going to kind of share and go over this together. It's about a 40-minute video. All right, let me get my audio working on this other thing here. Yeah, I really loved working with Erich, man. This guy was, man, he was really amazing to work with because he had a young mind. He had a young heart. Some people I know towards the end of his life were trying to ruin him and say that he was this prejudiced guy. Prejudiced people don't invite people like me to their homes off grid without telling anybody, without making it public, without broadcasting it to the world. Look, guys, I got Billy Carson at my house. No, this is a very private invitation, which I took him up on, and it was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. So I'm just going to adjust the sound here real quick. Okay, hang tight 1 second. Let me make sure that's working. I need one cable to connect here. I need one more cable. And what I learned from him was always ask questions, because one thing about Erich, he always asked questions. I'm going to run a test with y'all right now in the live chat. And I want you all to tell me if you can hear this video or not, all right? Let me know if you can hear this. Can you hear the audio? We can hear it, Bills. Okay. Fantastic. That's great. I'm glad you can hear it. Perfect. That means it's already set up properly. I'm running
in
from
an
a
era
different computer
shrouded in the midst of time, within the vast expanse
All right,
of an uncharted cosmos, emerged the genesis of humankind. How did the odyssey of humanity begin? What secrets lie within our primordial roots? A tale woven into the fabric of the stars. This is the saga of the Anunnaki and their ancient secrets revealed.
Erich von Daniken attended a Jesuit boarding school where his interest in religion also led him to futurology and molecular biology. After attending school, he trained as a cook and waiter. His job also took him on ocean liners. He continued his scientific and futurological studies, which eventually led him to alien astronauts. Von Daniken was awarded many Lifetime Achievement Awards over the years for his commitment to science journalism. It is an honor to have him as an expert guest on Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. So, Erich, have you found any evidence of extraterrestrial influence in ancient art or architecture?
It always comes up with new information. For example, in French Brittany, we have these gigantic stone lines. They are there since centuries, since thousands of years. But what is new, brand new, it turns out that these stones are not just standing there by coincidence. They are all laid out in Pythagorean triangle. Pythagoras was a Greek mathematician, 500 BC. But these stones in French Brittany are 5,000 years ago. So they knew nothing about Pythagorean triangle. Somebody in the deep past must have told our Stone Age people, you just bring stones. Maybe they showed them how to move them in an easier way. You bring stones and you put them there and there exactly in the way we order it to you. The question is why? And I have an idea why. In the deep past, these people knew exactly that generation would pass and thousands of years in the future, the new generations will stumble over these stones and they will ask, hey, Pythagorean triangles, 5,000 years BC, how is this possible? Now the questions come up, and that's exactly what we do today. We ask the question because of these stones laid out 5,000 years in the past. Without these stones, we would have no questions today.
So Erich, how do these recent studies compare to those that you've studied in the past?
Well, the knowledge is different. The study in the past, archaeology practically every month comes up with new discoveries, especially in the Great Pyramid. This is a never-ending story. In the Great Pyramid, practically every year, new shafts, new rooms are discovered. So this is new, the information, but the way how they have done it, and for what purpose they have done it, that's all the old questions. We still have no answers, we have a lot of questions.
Absolutely. So what challenges have you faced trying to get the archaeological community to accept these new facts?
Well, they will never accept these new facts. The archaeological community, they are wonderful, honest, integral personalities, wonderful personalities, but they don't think the way I do. I have come up with the idea that all it has to do with extraterrestrials. Of course, the humans made these things, not extraterrestrials. The humans made these stones, these alignments, not the extraterrestrials. But the question was why? Who gave them the order? The extraterrestrials. So archaeology don't think in extraterrestrials. They think it's all natural. It happened just by coincidence. I am not afraid of coincidence.
Earlier you talked about the Pythagorean triangles that were laid out in a particular pattern by these ancient cultures. Are there any other significant artifacts or ancient sites that have the similar patterns or patterns that stand out to you?
Definitely yes. And the question is always the same. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors were Stone Age people. Now, they start to lay out stones, gigantic stones first. Why? Who gave the order? And it's not the question of one generation, because this took time, 2 or 3 generations. But there must have been a big boss who orders, now be prepared for generations, you have to move stones in such and such a way, in such a line, in Pythagorean forms. So who was given the order? Why? Was he a king? What for? And why did they obey him? So finally our ancestors did it. We have no idea how they moved it. These stone blocks are tons and tons heavy, and sometimes not in flat land, in hill. So you cannot move it with wooden rollers, for example. So we have still no idea why and how, with what technology they did it. The question is the same all over Europe. By the way, this is a phenomenon. We have stone circles in Europe, but not only in Europe. We have stone circles worldwide. Why did our Stone Age ancestor worldwide made stone circles? For what? For whom? The question is always, or the answer is always, they did it for the gods. I accept for the gods, but go on and ask, which gods? And finally you turn out the gods from up there. In the past, we thought the gods were the gods in nature. For example, the god is the sun, they adore the moon, etc., the stars, which is not the right answer. Why not? Because the gods gave information. They were talking. They were speaking to the people. Nature, the sun, the moon is not talking, is not giving answers. So who were the gods? Finally, it turned out they must have been extraterrestrials, visitors in the deep past who teached our ancestors.
Wow. And do you think that these visitors from the deep past could be the reason for a lot of these lost civilizations that we know from ancient times?
Definitely yes. Of course we have evolution. Of course we are the product of evolution. But not only of evolution. Of a sudden we have been visited by beings from outer space. By the way, which is not coincidence. You know, today our astronomers, they know which solar systems have planets, which planets are habitable planets. They know today. The extraterrestrials knew the same thing. One form of life was the most advanced form, our ancestor. Now you may say some kind of apes or chimpanzees, it doesn't matter. You took one or two exemplaries, you took some cells, you changed the cells of some of these primitive beings, changed the DNA code, which every biologist today knows how to do it. You put this in a liquid of nutrition, then the product in the womb of a female of the same species, the female will give birth to a child. The child is of course part of evolution, but because of this artificial mutation, the child is now going up from the evolution. Soon as you need a new population, you need at least female and male. And now you land in the story of Adam and Eve.
Now, real quick, I want to pause it here real quick and interject some information here. So where he's talking right now, he's talking about creating a zygote. Now, it sounds like it's just maybe conjecture or his own hypothesis, right? But when you look into the text, you find something very similar. You find that there is a cylinder scroll and some text about Isis. Yes, Isis. And she actually is frustrated that they were having difficulty creating the Adamu, which means first man. They wanted to create, or the word create is a bad word because it makes people think that they made something from scratch. But they wanted to take an existing person that was here, like our cousin, and tinker with them to get them to be their workers, their slaves. They were doing this with a cloning technique. And when I take people to Egypt, we take you to the temples at Karnak and in Luxor, and we show you the actual hieroglyphs that talk and give the exact recipe for how to clone a person, step by step by step. And when you see it, and when it's read to you by a real university Egyptologist that grew up in Egypt, you're gonna be blown away. This is why you have to come on these tours. This is not going to be just, you're not going to hear about this in mainstream TV, mainstream universities, but you will see it, read it along with an actual Egyptologist in Egypt. The stuff that they want to hide from the general public. They sequester this information and they keep it hidden, quarantined from the general world. But the thing about it is that they were having trouble with these clones because the clones themselves could not reproduce. And they were trying to create this huge workforce. So they wanted them to reproduce on their own. And this is when they came up with the idea of genetically modifying our cousins and allowing them to be able to reproduce on their own, right? A Homo sapien sapien. And so there's a cylinder scroll where Isis is holding up the first Adamu, and it says, "My hands have created it," the Adamu, which means first man. In the text, they take an egg from an existing hominid female, just like you saw in that demonstration video there in the graphics in this clip I was showing with Erich von Daniken. They then took some of their own genetic material and added it to the egg. In the text, they say we're going to add our essence to it. They put that egg in the womb of Isis. She said, "I'm going to take it to term." Now, this in modern science is called creating a zygote. That's real high-tech stuff. You can't even do this type of operation without a microscope today. They then put it in her womb. She took it to term for 10 months, not 9, 10 months. And then she gave birth to the Adamu. Okay? She gave birth to the, now, she gave birth to the Adamu. This began the generations of Isis, the Genesis, the Genesis. This began the book of Genesis, which is the generations of Isis. And then they tried to mate Adam, the Adamu, with one of the clones, failed, didn't work. I said, we got to make an Eve. So they went back and took some cells and made a whole nother zygote, and then made an Eve, then mated them, and it worked. Then they began making more Adams and more Eves in the Garden of Eden, Edin, which was guarded by the Lord Satan. Sound familiar, guys? This was an outdoor laboratory where the men and the females were put into these mating stalls, and they had designated times to mate, or they would get in trouble if they made it outside their designated times. Why would they do this? Because you can't create 8 billion people from 2 people. That's why. Anybody that mates dogs will tell you, you can't mate 2 dogs and turn 2 dogs into billions of dogs. You have to have more genetic diversity. This is why it's against the law to like marry your sister, marry your brother, marry your first cousins and things like that, because we would have super genetic deformities. You need more genetic diversity in order to build a civilization. And this is what they were doing. You can find out more about this as well in the book of Adam, which is an apocrypha text, which was kept out of the biblical text. You can hear Adam's words as he talks about being completely distraught by being kicked out of the garden by armed guards. And then he tried to commit suicide in the waters there, just outside Eden. And one of the armed guards came over and pulled him up and prevented him from unaliving himself. The book of Adam, available on Amazon, available anywhere that books are sold. It's an apocrypha text. One of the books they decided, we better not put this in here. He was completely distraught. So what Erich von Daniken is talking about is that process. I wanted to give you a little more depth knowledge about that particular process so you can understand it just a little bit more. Let's get back into it with Erich von Daniken.
The gods created the first Adam and Eve, and etc. In every holy book, including the Bible, it says the gods created humans according their own image. So these extraterrestrials did not by coincidence look similar to us. We look similar to them because we are the offspring. The gods created us according their own image, and they promised, by the way, in the past they will return. And I am sure they are back already.
And what's interesting is you talked about the DNA. Are there any artifacts that you can remember that kind of show the DNA, any cylinder scrolls or any text that show these beings looking and working with DNA?
Oh yes, especially in Sumerian cylinder seals. We have some of these DNAs. They look the spiral. Now, again, DNA is something very small. You need a large microscope to enlarge them. Yeah. So our ancestors could never have seen a DNA. They have been taught by the extraterrestrials. Paint this in your wall, scrap this in your wall. Why? For the generations in the far future. They must see these old writings and scrabblings, and they must come up with asking questions. That's exactly what we do today.
Right, absolutely. What do you think are some of the implications of these amazing discoveries on people that are living now today, if we can really understand what you know, what I know about the ancient past?
Well, the implication is that we are not only humans, we are part of a big family. You know, on our planet, we have, of course, different types of humans, but we are all humans. We are all this gigantic family of humans. If one day the extraterrestrials will return, we will not present them, hey, I am a Catholic, or I am a Protestant, or I am a Mormon. No, I am a human. We will not present, I have this political direction or that political direction. No, I am human. We all are human. We are a human society. It doesn't matter what sort of humans we are all humans. And this is what we represent as humanity when we get in contact with extraterrestrials.
I've been traveling around the world. I'm trying to catch up to how many miles you've put out, but I got a long way to go. You've done billions of miles. But as I travel the world, I look for these archaeological sites that have evidence of these ancient timelines. What are the most amazing archaeological sites that stand out in your mind that you've been to that give you a fresh view that we were visited by ancient aliens?
Definitely Puma Punku. Puma Punku is a site in the highland of Bolivia, roughly 3,800 meters high, near Lake Titicaca. And Puma Punku is composed of gigantic stone blocks, gigantic ones, and some small stone blocks, but they are prefabricated stone blocks. You can put them together like Lego sets, you know. Now, roughly 400 years ago, the Spanish conquerors were up there at Puma Punku, and the locals were there too. And the Spanish conquerors were standing before gigantic platforms. And the Spanish asked the locals, how did you move these platforms? We Spanish people, we would not be able to move them. And the locals, very timid, said, it was not us who did it. It was the gods who did it. And the Spanish asked, which gods? The gods who descended in one night from heaven, from the sky. So normally, every culture is proud. Oh, we did this. Our ancestors did this. We were able to do that. In that case of Puma Punku in the highland of Bolivia, the local leaders say, no, it was not us. It was the gods from the sky who did this in one night. Now, once you have come to this solution, the gods did it, gods were extraterrestrials, why should they do so?
Now, this is interesting. Erich is talking about the gods doing this in one single night. Okay? He's talking about, now, why is that so significant? It's so significant because I've been to all the places, most of the major places where a lot of these ancient sites are, right? All throughout Turkey, which is, part of Mesopotamia, the Middle East, Egypt, Australia, of course, down through the Americas and South Americas, and down into, of course, Mexico, and which is down there, and Peru and Bolivia, and all these places. I've been all the way across to Cambodia. And what do a lot of these indigenous cultures all say? Now think about all those different places I just named and how far away they are from each other. And imagine talking to those indigenous people and them all saying, oh, that structure, the gods built it in a day and a night. The gods built it in a day and a night. The gods built it in a day and a night. The gods built it in a day. It's like a broken record. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this from these people. How is this possible? When I went to Cambodia, I didn't even expect that. Again, the indigenous people live all in the jungle, all around that mega complex, that mega temple, the largest temple complex in the world. And I asked, and you know what they said? The gods poured it into place in a day and a night. It's always the same story, no matter what part of the world they're living in. This is really important because it's telling me if they had the capability of building something that fast, maybe not technically in a day and a night, or maybe it was, but let's just say maybe it was done so long ago that the handed down star lore was a day and a night. In other words, representing extremely fast construction techniques, right? Extremely fast construction techniques. And maybe that became the standard terminology to pass down that verbal handed down history. Because to describe the specific construction process and get more into more detail, it might break down over generations being handed down verbal history and before it made it into text and things like that. I'm dropping the link in the live chat right now. I got 1,900 people on my live tonight. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you being here, and watching this and watching Erich von Daniken with me, the late, great Erich von Daniken. If you're just joining, we're watching some of the grand finale of my Anunnaki TV series, my award-winning TV series. And in the last episode, I've got Erich von Daniken, the late, great legend, Erich von Daniken. It was before he passed away. I had no idea. Nobody had any idea that that would be his last production, his last docuseries. I was part of his last docuseries and his absolute last podcast. And so it was a blessing to work with Erich von Daniken over all these years. He was a wealth of information, wealth of knowledge. When an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. And he had a lot of knowledge. The beautiful thing about him, he tried to share as much of it as he possibly could, and keeping up with his travels over millions of miles around this earth. I used to look at him and be like, wow, this man is still going. You know, he's still going, and my dad is gone, you know? And it used to make me be like, man, wow, my dad has passed away. He's no longer with us. And he died like a long time ago. And Erich is still here. And it's like, how is this possible? And I used to be like, man, I wish my dad could have lived to see this and you know, be a part of this. But I guess it just wasn't part of his journey. It wasn't part of his, you know, it wasn't part of his reality on this timeline. But when he's talking about the speed, a lot of these mainstream archaeologists talk about taking, you know, generations, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years to build some of these structures. It just doesn't seem like it makes any sense to me. Taking on the building of a structure that you won't even be alive to see completed. It almost seems as if they would probably try to build something that they could see completed, that they can witness it to be completed, so they can bask in the glory of having their name on it and witnessing this thing being completed. But yet, that's not what mainstream is trying to tell us. And if they do tell us that it was completed in their lifetime, I find in some cases they actually lied. Like Angkor Wat in Cambodia. The temple that they say was poured into place in a day and a night. And they claim that the king built that place, but that king died at age 45. And when you look at Angkor Wat, I've been there now several times. I take people on tour there as well. And you see that it has tens of thousands of three-dimensional glyphs on it. It's built from megalithic stones. I'm talking about super megalithic. The structure is so old and so advanced. It has a megalithic pool on the second floor of one of the structures that doesn't collapse the structure itself, by the way. And you begin to realize how sophisticated these people were. And then you look at the moat that goes around Angkor Wat. That moat of water is so massive. It's the largest moat. I did some simple calculations based on the size of the moat and the depth of the moat, and I was able to come up with the number. And that number is mesmerizing. They removed more mass of mud and soil to create the moat than the 2 million blocks of stone that built the Great Pyramid. And it's not just a hole in the ground, it's connected to the mountains to absorb and bring water down for irrigation and to fill the moat and maintain a certain level and send irrigation out to the fields for farming. It's also for security to keep the king safe in the temple from intruders. Imagine taking on the challenge of moving more mass than the Great Pyramid itself to build a moat that was multifunctional and then hoping it would actually work, hoping it would irrigate the fields, hoping that the water level would sustain itself. You don't do that stuff by guessing. You do it purely from foreknowledge. Advanced knowledge, advanced technology, advanced construction techniques. They knew it would work. They knew that it would work, okay? And so we find ourselves, again, in another conundrum, as I'm getting a little bit of shade on me here. Let me see if I can switch myself a little bit. We find ourselves in another conundrum. Let's go back and watch a little bit more of Erich.
Something on Earth with gigantic platforms. Simply they use something which today we would call a base camp. They use something to protect their material, their equipment, so that it is not be disturbed by the nature or by animals or by humans. So they made a base camp. That's why they did it with their technology in one night. Today, when we are in Pumapunku, you clearly see gigantic platforms and you see small stones but work together in such precise way that you can put them together as prefabricated block. Prefabricated means planning. Some engineer must have been sit at some place and calculate first. Otherwise you cannot put them together. That means high technology in the past, and our ancestors, Stone Age people, had no high technology and no engineering in the past.
You were just answering my next question, the technology. What type of technology could these people possibly have had to build these amazing structures and cut into diorite, cut into actual granite? What do you think? What is your hypothesis on that?
We have absolutely no idea. We are standing before a black hole. The technology is definitely here. These cuttings are made. You can see them. You stand astonished for some of these blocks. And not only the large blocks with these angles, but some small grooves have been in some diorite blocks in Pumapunku, in the highland of Bolivia. We see the result of high technology, but we have no idea what mechanics, what machines, what were used. That's why it was not done by terrestrials, it was done by extraterrestrials.
Yes, and I know that you know this, but how far away, for the viewers, how far away do some of these blocks come from? Like, for example, the granite that's located, for example, at Karnak or some of these other ancient temples in Egypt.
Okay, Karnak is not the big problem. You could have transported them in the neighborhood of about 10 kilometers. But for example, Stonehenge, everyone knows Stonehenge in England. These stone blocks were transported more than 100 kilometers away. So again, you ask, why do people transport stone blocks 100 kilometers away, and why has it to be exactly here, a stone circle? Why do they don't make the stone circle there where the blocks are? So because it was ordered by somebody. The place was a holy place. Why was it a holy place? Because somebody was landing there, somebody from the sky. We have the same situation today. You know, two children, for example, they come and say, we had a vision or we had an apparition of the Holy Virgin Mary. Because two children say something, the place becomes holy. Now more and more people come to this place. They want to adore the Virgin Holy Mary. Then they construct a small chapel, later a bigger church and the cathedral. In antiquity it was the same thing. Somebody descended. The local was astonished. They couldn't understand. They knew it was from heaven. It was the God. So they made a small stone place, then a bigger, etc. On and on. And today we stand before that technology. Your question was how? We have no idea. We don't know how they made it.
Now that we've been traveling so much and going around the world, one of my favorite places to go is Egypt. And the reason why is because every time I go, I see something new. Are there any new things that you've seen in the last maybe 5 years that say, wow, I've never seen this before? Because I know you've been so many places.
Yeah, of course. In Egypt we have Saqqara. Saqqara, this is the place where the step pyramid is. And archaeologists say this is the oldest pyramid. I don't believe it personally, but it doesn't matter, that's archaeological knowledge. Now, under Saqqara, in the ground of Saqqara, there was tunnels found, and not tunnels of, let's say, 200 or 300 meters, kilometers and kilometers of subterranean tunnels, kilometers of tunnels under Saqqara. Now imagine, again, Stone Age society. How did they cut it? Why? For what purpose? Etc. Then we have in Saqqara.
Okay. Let me know if you can hear me again. I'm back and I'm talking on a slightly different microphone. Let me hear in the live chat if you can hear me. I want to show you something from Saqqara. So let me hear. Zakia, can you hear me in the live chat, Zakia? Let me know, Zakia. Okay, Matt says you can hear. Okay, great. Perfect, thank you. I'm gonna go to this clip right here real quick. Hold on a second. Not that one. Hold on, let me find it. Let's see here. This one here, let me see. No, not that one. Hold on.
Which is a Semitic tongue.
Oh, that's it. Oh, here we go. Got it.
This is Billy Carson, aka Forbidden Knowledge. We are right now underneath the Pyramid of Saqqara, the Step Pyramid. This is an amazing pyramid that has chambers underneath. And right now we are literally standing about maybe 20 stories beneath the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. There's tunnels and chambers going in every which way, every direction. And what's interesting is, as you look at these walls, you can see that the boring technique used to create these tunnels must have required very little excavation, as these tunnels will probably use some type of a vitrification boring machine, the same kind that the U.S. military and DARPA use today. If you want to learn more, make sure you come on the Forbidden Tour of Egypt. The link is in the caption or in the bio. Peace.
All right. That was me in Saqqara underneath the Step Pyramid that Erich von Daniken was just talking about, this labyrinth, a 5-mile labyrinth down there. If you want to come and see that with me, you can. If you're on X, the link is in my bio. Click that link and register for my Egypt tour on my Link Me. In my Link Me, there's an Egypt tour registration link. Come hang out with me in Egypt and come explore that underground labyrinth with me in Egypt, okay? If you're on any other platform, I've been dropping the link in the live chat as well as in the caption of the video. I'll drop it again right now. Register ASAP. There's not that many spots left for this October. I'd love to have you come to Egypt with me, and let's go down there. I'm gonna show you some things that are gonna blow you away. You would never think that would exist 12 stories down beneath the deserts of the Sahara. Some of these tunnels go on for miles. Some go on for hundreds of miles at different locations. There's one tunnel area that's so deep beneath the ground and so large that even mainstream Egyptologists call it highways, call them highways. And with a high power laser pen, we still can't see the end of the road, or the end of the tunnels. It's incredible. You have to see this with your own eyes. Again, I dropped the link in the live chat. Also, we're going to go visit the Valley of the Whales. I'm going to take you out to Fayum, and we're going to go out and you're going to witness megalithic whale bones from prehistoric 60 to 65 million year old whales laying around in the desert. Imagine standing next to a 40-foot Basilosaurus. Imagine standing next to a 60-foot Basilosaurus and other ancient creatures laying around in the desert, picking up ancient fossils in your hand from the desert floor that are 40, 50, 60 million years old. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, okay? I dropped a link in the live chat again. Let's watch some more from Erich.
One of the other mysteries, which is the Serapheum. Serapheum is an underground place with the most gigantic sarcophagus which you can ever dream of it. I have my body, I am 1 meter 68 centimeters high. If I stand on the sarcophagus with my hands, with my fingers, I can touch the sarcophagus. It's absolutely a mystery. Why? What was in these sarcophagi? Most of them were empty. Archaeology, when they discovered these sarcophagi, they thought it must be made for holy bulls. But then they opened it. There were no holy bulls in it. They were empty. In one sarcophagi, they found different bones, broken bones, by the way, of different animals, which again is the next mystery. Why a next mystery? Egypt was absolutely sure of reincarnation. They believed that every human body would be reincarnated, by the way, every animal too, but you have to preserve the body. That's why they mummified everything.
This is amazing to see down here in the Serapeum at Saqqara. You look at these amazing, gigantic, megalithic stone sarcophagus, and if you look at the size, the sheer shape and size of these, and also the enclosure, you realize that this is probably not for a human being.
In Egypt, you don't have only mummified humans. You have mummified bulls, mummified apes, mummified crocodiles. By the way, in Saqqara, there are 200,000, you hear correct, 200,000 mummified crocodiles in those tunnels in Saqqara. So they mummified everything because they believe of reincarnation. But now in that case, the bones were broken. It's against mummification. Why? We have no answer. Big question marks. I love the question marks. That's for the next generation. Please seek for answers.
You know, I've been to Saqqara, to the Serapeum, and what strikes me is how they carve those halls down there. The rock is cut, and you can see that the rock is not collapsing. And those tiny halls that are there, well, they're not tiny, they're large, but the blocks, the stone box is so big, it fits, it takes up the whole little hallway, the alcove, each one. And you can't navigate those giant stones down there. You can't cut them down there because the stone would be too big to cut down to that size. So do you think they teleported them in there or manifested them in there? What do you think? How do you think they got those stone blocks in there?
Really no answer. You know, these stone blocks are made of granite from Aswan. Aswan is roughly 1,000 kilometers away. So imagine, first the question, why has it to be granite from Aswan? Why don't make this underground Serapheum in Aswan? Why has to be? You transport 1,000 blocks down the Nile. In earlier time, there were 3 cataracts. You know, you have to move it away from the ship, go on land, again on the ship, etc. down. Why from them? Then they cut out these subterranean tunnels. We don't know with what tools, we don't know what for. Then you have these niches, which you just described. These niches, we have no idea how they transported these gigantic sarcophagi down there, because you could not let them down from the ceiling. The ceiling is closed, so We still have questions. The question is how they made it, with what tools, the cutting, but the main question, why? Why? What's the reason for all this? We have no answer.
You know that I went down there just recently and discovered that some of those stone boxes in the Serapeum are still giving off radiation. They're radioactive. So I'm starting to think that that entire place at the Serapeum might be some type of stone technology that had energy in it and is still giving off energy today.
This is quite possible because some of the pharaohs, the mummies of the pharaohs, are radioactive too.
Wow, that's
Now, right here, Erich says something that I didn't know, that some of the statues of the pharaohs were radioactive right now today. And so I took my Geiger counter with me and I went to some of the statues, which I didn't even think about doing that prior to my conversation with Erich in this actual episode you're watching right now. The next time I got a chance to go to Egypt, which was only a few weeks after this was recorded, I found that these magnificent diorite, these crystal diorite statues and these crystal granite statues, these single piece megaliths that obviously are done pre-dynastic era, are higher than background level radiation. They're radioactive. Now I'm beginning to believe that the statues themselves were multifunctional. They weren't just art. That's just one aspect of it. But they were building living technology. Living meaning the objects are usually between 40 to 60% crystal, and crystal is alive. They utilize this in the temples, the inside the Pyramid King's chamber, inside these megalithic statues. And from the minds of the ancient Egyptians, they were building living structures, living statues. Then also, when you analyze the location, the original location of where these statues were located throughout the kingdom, we discover something else amazing. We discover that the statues themselves are part of this telluric field and this movement of energy throughout the region. They were nodes. That's what these statues were. I would love for you to come and explore and see this with your own eyes. Look at my Geiger counter. Look at my magnetometer. Look at my LiDAR device in real time, right next to me, side by side. If you're on X right now watching this, the link is in my bio. Go to the link in my bio for my Link Me. Click on that registration link for Egypt and come hang out with me in Egypt. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, I've been dropping a link in the live chat. Love to have you come hang out with me. And when you come on this tour with me, you're going to be there live while I'm filming some more episodes for season number 2 of Anunnaki. You'll be live on set while I'm filming some parts for season number 2 of Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. So we can explore these incredible things. This exploration is all about putting the pieces of the puzzle together and beginning to understand it in ways that mainstream is just not going to give us. It's up to us to do it. Now, are we always going to be 100% right? No, that's impossible. But what we can do is we can spend the energy, the time, the effort to put the research out there and connect the dots. And then maybe someone else will bring a small piece, and maybe someone else will bring a small piece of the puzzle. And eventually we might have a much bigger painting, because we've all brought pieces to this grand puzzle of what happened in the ancient past.
incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's something I just learned. The next time I go back to Egypt, I'm going to take my Geiger counter with me. I'm going to measure the radiation levels with a meter so I can see which things are more radioactive than some of the others. And that may give us more research to look into new ideas. So speaking about radiation, there seems to be some evidence of wars in the ancient past. And one of the places that I know you've probably looked into or researched is Mohenjo-Daro. Do you think that could have been a site or a location of an ancient war?
Definitely yes. Mohenjo-Daro is in Pakistan. And the old Indian mythology is full of wars of the gods. The gods were fighting against each other. And sometimes the reason was humans. The gods said, this group of humans belong to me, or a group of humans belong to me, or they want to steal raw materials from the earth. So they have the wars of the gods. And these wars were done with atomic bombs, definitely. These atomic bombs are described in old Indian texts. And they even say that some of the unborn children in the womb of their woman died because of the rays of the gods. So in Mohenjo-Daro, you can prove radioactivity. It's not strong, but you still can prove today. And the war of the god is a fact in Indian mythology. Everyone who knows Indian mythology knows the war of the gods, and it was a war with atomic bombs. Because this took time 2 or
Now, I'm going to pause right here for a second because he's talking about these wars of the gods. And these wars are real wars, in my opinion. He talked about Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley. We're talking about Pakistan, which is just one location of several dozen you can find on Earth where there's evidence of this massive war, a war that had weapons that could light up the sky and that could heat sand to over 3,000 degrees and turn it into glass. In Mohenjo-Daro, the buildings are still there. The bodies of the people are still laying in the street. Some of them are still holding hands. No evidence of any scavenging after all this time. The animals never came to eat the bodies. Why? Because if you take a Geiger counter out there, you discover that those skeletons are higher than background level radiation. You discover that we're talking about evidence of an ancient war where their buildings turned into glass. Their homes turned into glass. They were made out of mud brick. The only way to do that and achieve that level of vitrification is with a weapon or some type of a heat signature, maybe not a weapon, that can reach 3,000 degrees. Those people fell and died where they stood. There's even some bodies still on the staircases coming out of those domiciles. We're talking about a devastating event. And if you're in Egypt, I take people to the Bent Pyramid and I show them where some type of energetic thing, whether it's a weapon or something else, hit the Bent Pyramid and exploded the casing outward. And the charred stones, you can pick them up and you can hold them in your hands. Thousands of years later, you can hold these stones, evidence of some type of advanced weapons fire, or maybe some other type of crazy energetic event that we just can't explain. But it aligns with the ancient text talking about the pyramid wars. This last pyramid war of Amun-Ra, who didn't want to give up his kingship and also wanted to take over kingship early, ahead of his processional period of time. We're talking about now Marduk in the Torah. Some people say Marduk. But we're talking about this war that occurred, this fight, this battle to retain power on Earth. Does that sound familiar to you? It's happening right now, today. Coming out of the Middle East, there's one imposing power trying to impose its will on other nations in that region, a battle over resources and control of the people. It's still happening in 2026 right now. things haven't changed that much from the ancient past, it seems like. But what's crazy is in Egypt, near that bent pyramid, if you put your hand in the dirt, the soil, the sand, and you keep doing like this, eventually you'll bring up small balls of glass. How did you get that glass in that sand? The ancients would take those balls of glass and carve them into ritualistic scarab beetles and use them as decoration, as an honor to the gods. Why were they honoring the gods? Because they were representing the honor of understanding that there was a war that took place, and this glass was a result of that war. Evidence of this is all over the place. My personal opinion is that the Sahara Desert, the reason why it was more plush and lush, and the Nile was there, and the palm trees and everything was right there at Giza, but not now, I believe the war triggered a cascade effect, which created that desert environment that we see today. Trying to get back to my video. Oh no, here we go.
What other sites are aligned in that way to kind of give us an idea that maybe there was some type of extraterrestrial influence?
There was definitely an extraterrestrial influence in the Tiwanaku, you just mentioned it up there, in Pumapunku, again in the highland of Bolivia, then the Pyramid of Egypt. You know, in Egypt, we still practically every 2 years, we make new discoveries of shafts and rooms, and then something is inside. And the funny story is, when the pyramid was opened, the Great Pyramid in Egypt, in Giza, was opened for the first time, that was around 820 AD. Now, the man who entered there, he said he found inside the Great Pyramid 3 rooms. In one of the rooms, he found something which looked like metal, bending metal. We could compare to today with alu folias, you know, bending metal. In another room, he found, by the way, 2 strange beings with helmets on and with elongated heads and with strange garments on it. That's written in Al-Mamun's book, in the so-called Hittat. So still today, we have extraterrestrials lying in the Great Pyramid, but it's not known to the archaeologists. The archaeologists discover practically every 2 or 3 years new rooms, not by cutting, not by looking inside, simply by modern technology. So we know there are more rooms in the Great Pyramid, but we have no access to it because the shafts, the corridors are too small. They have a side length of about 14 centimeters. So we know there are rooms in the pyramid. We know there are objects in the pyramid. We know there are tools, artifacts. We know it from the Hittat, which is an old writing. So we know it, but we have no access. We have not been in there. The time, the spirit of time is ripe. Now we should open these rooms. We have the technology to do it. We should open these rooms, and it's not anymore a shock for humanity. We are prepared to learn. There were extraterrestrials. We are not the only intelligent race in the universe.
When I was at Giza, I went to the Great Sphinx, and I noticed they were digging some holes underneath the Sphinx, I guess maybe for drainage, or maybe they found some underground areas by the Sphinx. Do you know of any of the ancient myths about what could be underneath the Sphinx?
Oh yes, I mean, we had this Edgar Gacy, you know, this prophet, the last prophet, and he said under the pyramid, under the Sphinx, there are the hall of records. And through modern technology, with a modern kind of radar, which you can see through the stones, they found rooms under the Sphinx, definitely. And Robert Chock, who is a geologist, an American geologist, He was there and said, definitely there are rooms on there. And by the way, also, he said the Sphinx must be much older than what archaeologists are dating. Archaeologists say the Sphinx is more or less 2,500 BC, like the Cheops pyramid. Robert Schoch and others says, no, this is not possible, because you find the traces of water. It was all covered with water, like the Great Flood. And the Sphinx was already there when the water was coming, and you can prove this today. So all of these datings are probably wrong. You know, these datings are made with the C14 dating. Now you can date the C14 because C14 breaks during century. The question is, in antiquity they speak about wars. They speak about atomic wars. Atomic wars mean radiation. Now if these stones were under radiation, then they have more radioactivity inside than what archaeology believes. And all the datings are wrong, because they have more C14. C14 is radioactive isotope. So they have more in there, so all the datings are wrong. All these artifacts are probably thousands of years older than what today's archaeologists think.
Absolutely. Why do you think they stay on that narrative of not wanting us to know the true age? And if you present them with the evidence of the age, they still don't want to look at it. Why do you think that is?
It's a question of our evolution theory. We say everything started with primitive Stone Age. Slowly we grow and grow. We develop slowly technology and then higher technology and so on. It's a process of evolution. But in all that cases, the process of evolution doesn't work, because the ancient technology was the most perfect one. We don't know, we just mentioned it before, how they cut, how they transported all these things, with some technology which does not fit in the theory of evolution. That's the theory of evolution which contradicts. That's why they don't want us to believe that these things are old, because it contradicts evolution. A theory of evolution. And the theory of evolution is partly right, but only partly. Not everything in evolution is right.
Speaking of evolution, when we think about the evolution where they tell us that humans came from monkeys, and then monkeys, started getting out and standing upright and eventually became hunter-gatherers, what is your perception?
I'm getting a little bit of a bandwidth issue. So I'm going to cut in right here while the bandwidth buffers a little bit more. But so Erich is interesting, because from his perception, he believes from his own research that maybe they took some ape hominids and then genetically tinkered with the ape hominids. I personally believe that we had gotten beyond that we weren't ape hominids, but that at the time that the genetic modification happened, we were closer to this version of Homo sapien, not too much different, maybe even more intelligent spiritually, probably had a larger skull, a larger pineal gland. And I think that, but it's interesting. What I love is I love to show everyone's different individual perspectives, because not one person for sure can say that they're 100% accurate on anything. We have circumstantial evidence, but we just weren't there. So we're trying to piece this whole thing together. And it takes a village. It takes a village of people looking into this and coming up with their own hypotheses based on what they researched and what they knew. But I do tend to think that there was an existing being on this planet that would be our cousin, that was a level above the ape. And that's okay. Some areas in research that I may come up with and that I believe other archaeologists and researchers, even some of my own friends that are in the same field I'm in, we don't agree 100% with some of my concepts and ideas, and I don't agree 100% with some of their concepts and ideas. And that's actually healthy. It's okay, because we're still working towards a goal of piecing it together. What's great is we can each take a little piece of each other's research and put it together and try to paint this bigger picture. That's the ultimate goal here.
Have evolution which we can prove, for example, in certain animals. I mean, everyone knows a dog, and we know the dog has an older dog, a preset dog, etc. So there's a dog family, etc. But and we have an evolution in ape, for example. We have the gorillas, we have the chimpanzees, they are still there, and then we have us. So why are we out of evolution? I mean, the chimpanzees, the gorillas, they are all on the same family. Why just we break out of the same family tree? Because the gods created us according to their own image. Again, to come back, our today's astronomers know which solar system has planet and which planets are habitable. The extraterrestrials knew this, of course, too. They found there is a planet here in our solar system which can have forms of life. So one day they arrived. They found different forms of life, millions of forms of life here, and the most advanced form of life was one of our ancestors, whatever it was. They took one of the ancestors, they took one cell, they changed the DNA code in the cell, which every student of biology knows how to do it today. They put the changed cell in the womb of a female. The female gives birth to a child. The child has, of course, evolution of the family, which is true, but because of this artificial mutation, the child now grows up from the family of three. And now if you want to have a new branch, you need two, Adam and Eve. So I explained this before. And you can prove this theory, what I said, because our ancestor family are still here. The orangutans, the chimpanzees, the gorals, they do exist, but they have never become intelligent. They have never made cultures, paintings, singings. So we are the only culture. Why? And here mythology, and not only mythology, every holy text, including the Bible, says, because the gods made it. The gods created humans according their own image. We are the offsprings of them. Of course, I could go on now for 2 hours and explain this in detail. Why? Is it coincidence or not? No, it's not coincidence. But we are the offsprings of extraterrestrials, and that's not Erich von Däniken's ideas. Just read the holy scriptures, including the Bible. The gods created humans according to their own image.
So Erich, it's been an honor spending time with you here today. And I just have one more question. What do you think is the future of humanity?
The future of humanity, we will definitely go out in the universe. We will reunite with our cosmic family. We are part of this family. There are thousands and thousands of intelligent forms of life out there. And you, Billy Carson, you are one of these personalities who help to change the spirit of time. That's why for me it is a big honor to enlight this torch for you. And to give you this torch, it will enlight your being, your brain, your future. And you are the bringers of light for the rest of mankind.
Wow, thank you, sir. I love it. Thank you.
That was a huge honor. To get that torch from Erich von Däniken, for him to give me that great compliment in this show, which I had no idea that was his plan, that he told Caroline Corey what he wanted to do. Caroline Corey from Omnium, who co-produced this docuseries with me. That was just so beautiful. They set the whole thing up. They set it all. It was just, wow. I am getting goosebumps right now from this. Still getting goosebumps. Everyone who's watching, we have about 7,500 people watching right now all around the world. I would love to be able to experience a sacred tour of Egypt with you. There's not that many spots left for the October tour. I would love for you to click this link that's being dropped in the live chat right now. If you're on X, I know there's a lot of people on X right now. The link is in my bio for my Egypt tour. Go to my link me in my bio, click that link and go to the Egypt tour and register. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, the link is in the caption and also in the live chat. You can find it there as well. I would love to have you all come out, hang out. 2 weeks. 2 weeks that will transform your life. I'm talking about seeing things and places that less than 1/10 of the world will ever see. How about going underneath the Great Pyramid into the underground area and the subterranean shaft, 60 meters beneath the bedrock? Visiting and going down into the Osirian beneath the Temple of Seti. Going into underground hidden crypts where there's evidence of technology at Hathor in Dendera. Sailing down the Nile and getting off along the way, visiting Karnak, Luxor. Going to the Temple of Isis to witness the location of the generations of Isis, the Genesis. Going on boat rides to sail out to see the megalithic granite blocks at Aswan, and the unfinished obelisk, which weighs over 1,200 tons, sitting in the quarry because it got a crack on it. They said, we'll just make another one. This and so much more, I would love to be able to take you to see. The link is being dropped in the live chat. The link is in my bio. Shout out to Erich von Daniken, the late, great Erich von Daniken, my friend, my mentor. What a great man. I love him. I miss him. But we'll see him again. I will see him again one day in another dimension. Thank y'all for sharing this tonight. That was the grand finale of Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed, available on the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on your app store. I'll drop the link in the live chat one last time. And I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Come see me in Egypt. I guarantee you it will change your life. All right? Peace.